Hey, Davin here with Digital Trends, and today we're taking a look at the Fujifilm GFX 50S. This is Fuji's competitor to the Hasselblad X1D. They're both mirrorless, medium format cameras built around a version of the same 50 megapixel sensor. But while the X1D felt like a trimmed down, streamlined version of a very high-end professional camera, the GFX is trying to be a new modular system to bring medium format image quality to a more enthusiast-friendly price point. Now, it does cost $6,500, which is maybe not the most approachable price, but keep in mind that's actually $2,500 less than the X1D, so that is significant. I do think Hasselblad is a bit better ergonomically, the grip is a little nicer, although that is subjective. Some people may prefer this. Where the Fuji definitely comes out ahead is with regard to all the direct access control. So you've got locking, ISO, and shutter speed dials up top, just like you'll find on the company's X-T2, their APS-C flagship. And then of course you have the aperture ring on the lens. The LCD screen is also really similar to the X-T2, so it can tilt down and tilt up, and then it can also rotate out to the side here. So if you're shooting on a tripod and portrait orientation, it's really nice for that. As for the viewfinder, this is where the GFX does things a little differently from the X1D. So this is actually removable, and Fuji even sells a 90-degree adapter, but that'll run you about $570. So it is a pretty significant additional expense. What we really appreciate having on this camera is the AF point joystick on the back, which gives you direct access control to moving your autofocus point. Now that seems like a small thing, but it makes a really big difference in actual use. And that's one thing we would like to have seen on the Hasselblad. It also starts up really quickly, and the autofocus is actually pretty good. It uses 425 points. It is a contrast detection only system, so it's not great in low light, and it's not good for tracking moving subjects in continuous mode, but its single shot performance is actually really nice, at least when using the LM or linear motor lenses like we have here. But as approachable as it is, making the case for medium format at the enthusiast level, even at the professional level, is kind of difficult to do today, and that's because full frame sensors and lenses have just gotten so good. The GFX is capable of producing some fantastic images, especially in high contrast scenes where its extreme dynamic range really comes into play. But it's not going to blow away the best full-frame cameras. At about half the price, you could pick up a Nikon D850 or the new Sony A7R Mark III, both of which are going to give you very similar results, albeit with slightly less resolution. But you will get faster autofocus performance, higher burst rates, much better video modes, and overall just a more compact form factor. Sure, it's hard to make the case for enthusiasts. This is a $6,500 camera still. But even for professionals, there are a couple of red flags. This camera uses a focal plane shutter rather than a leaf shutter. The benefit of that is you get up to 1/4000th of a second shutter speed, which is twice that of the Hasselblad X1D. The downside is your flash sync speed is only 1/125th of a second on this camera. With a leaf shutter you can sync at any speed, and with most full-frame cameras that use even focal plane shutters, you can still sync up to 1/250th. What might be more important though is that Fuji just doesn't offer the same software workflow solutions that companies like Hasselblad and Phase 1 have. So commercial studio photographers might not really be able to integrate this camera into their existing workflows very easily. So figuring out who this camera is for is maybe a little bit difficult. As an astute friend of mine put it, it's kind of like the camera for dentists who want to practice their photography hobby by shooting landscapes on the weekends. They've got the money to burn, and they tend to want something a little more exclusive than just a Canon or a Nikon. All joking aside, I do genuinely like this camera. Emotionally, I very much enjoyed shooting with it, and I did really like the results. But I have a hard time coming up with a rational reason to really recommend it. But if you love the process of photography, setting up a tripod and working with lights or spending long hours editing your images into the night, then you are also really going to enjoy this camera. But I think it's important to realize if you're considering buying one, the decision has to be largely emotional because the rewards are going to be emotional. Now yes, this camera can take some absolutely stunning images. We know this is a great sensor, but so can a D850, so can an A7R Mark III.